Hey, Justice Warriors, how are you guys today? It's Friday, it's June 9th, just after 12:30. I hope you guys are doing great. I hope you're looking forward to a really relaxing weekend. I have a few things to discuss, of course, that's why we're here, right? Please hit that like button, share, subscribe, ring your notification bell if that tickles your fancy. I always like to start with my disclaimer. Everything I say can and will be used against me, right? So everything I say is simply my opinion. It's simply for the sake of conversation. I hope to open a discussion. I'm always hoping to learn something, and I'm always hoping that other folks will find my videos educational. So that's like in a perfect world, right? Man, the critics, the gaslighters. So I want to talk about some really crazy things. I made a series of 7 points in my video yesterday. The first one being that it was Kaylee Gonzalez's 22nd birthday. And can we just please keep the focus on the victims? Screw the perp, whoever that perp may be. Of course, it may be the criminal defendant. Yeah, it seems pretty crazy to think it's not when they've got stacks of files 12,000 miles high on the man. But that right there makes me suspicious. It's too much. It's too much, you guys. I can't even keep up. It's out of control. So, Keith Morrison, who narrated the last, what was it, a 48 hours, where they really convicted this guy. And then we had Judge basically um, threaten people like Keith Morrison and Ashley Banfield. Like, could that judge please actually apply some court sanctions on these unethical journalists, if they want to call themselves journalists? They're really like storytelling sellouts, as far as I'm concerned. We have to allow the justice system due process. We have to allow that. If we don't, like, just imagine that this guy is guilty. Just imagine that this guy is guilty and he gets away with it because he did not get a fair trial. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? That everybody knows he's guilty. He knows he's guilty. He knows he got away with it because there was no way for him to get a fair trial. Like, people need to cool their freaking jets. Seriously. So, Keith Morrison just happens to be the narrative voice on the series, the mini series about Pamela Huff. Is it The Thing About Pam? I always want to say Something About Pam, but that's Something About Mary. That's a Cameron Diaz movie. That was silly. This Pamela Huff story, I saw it when it first came out. A friend of mine recommended it. I thought it looked ridiculous. And then it was ridiculous, but it was also really well done. It's Renee Zellweger, and she's extremely talented and smart, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. So it's based on a true story. Keith Morrison is narrating the story of Pamela Huff, and I just started rewatching it since I've been recommending it to my viewers. And it is so similar in the first two episodes. I've only gotten through the first two so far, so I'm going to try to do a crash course and do four more tonight. So similar in the situation with the gaslighting, with the corruption, incompetence, you've got the nepotism, you've got a best friend who looks like the last person in the world who would do anything like what she did to her best friend. Again, this is a true story. She got away with not only murdering her best friend, she framed her best friend's husband. He was convicted. He served prison time because of her connections and her playing the system. And then she was able to subsequently unalive a series of more victims before they finally nailed her. It's crazy, you guys. We don't want to see a repeat of that. We absolutely don't need to see a repeat of that. So, that Keith Morrison narrating the story of the University of Idaho, and extremely bent on the perspective that the criminal defendant is guilty. Then we have James Patterson wanting to write a book. Like, yeah, how do you think he got his $900 million? From having an unpopular opinion? I don't think so. These people are sellouts, you guys. They don't care about anything except their yachts themselves and them yachts. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Remember The Making of a Murderer? Um, that is, I feel like, what we're seeing with the criminal defendant. Again, even if he's guilty, we need to cool the jets of social media and mass media, mainstream media, and just let the process run its course. So, these photographs allegedly that are from what, Southampton College 2018, Koberger sitting in a room with the author of The Handmaid's Tale, and he's got his little Handmaid's Tale book on his lap, and he just looks so delighted to be surrounded by all these really powerful feminists because, that's what incels do. Yeah. I'm still not sold that that's authentic. Somebody made a comment and said, "Oh, yeah, there's a 21-second video of him there." Okay, maybe there is. Maybe it's artificial intelligence, you guys. Remember, it's moving too quickly. None of us can keep up. None of us can keep up with this freaking game, and it's not a game. It's really not a game. So it's extremely hurtful to these victims, to their families. And then when these anniversaries come up, it just makes it that much more difficult. So, what do I want to say here? Um, the way the Moscow PD invites suspected perps to come splain themselves. I mentioned it yesterday with the people that were in the white Elantra. Roger Lanier, the captain, and Chief James Fry, they both said, we really just want to talk to these people if they could please step forward because we're having so much trouble sifting through the 22,000 white Elantras that exist on planet Earth, and we just don't know which one of them. And if anybody knows anybody who's ever seen a white Elantra or driven in a white Elantra or knows anybody who's seen a white Elantra or driven in a white Elantra, if they could please just call us and leave us a voicemail or send us an email so that we can continue to rack up the tens of thousands that we can't sift through, that would be really helpful. What? Like, seriously, people, what in the world is going on with these people that call themselves law enforcement? They need to step off, like, do your job and don't be like, wham, 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 trying to do my job and it's oh so very hard. Okay, well, you were given an extra $1 million to get your job done. So, don't take the money and run. Don't try to get another million. Just do your flippin' job. It's public safety. It's in your hands. The public's lives are in the hands of law enforcement. And it's just out of control when you look at cases like this. It's so out of control. So, we had a case here in the state of Ohio years ago. I think it was about 13 years ago or more. It was Steubenville High School. It was a disgusting multiple assault on a single victim. These these boys, got away with it because of who their parents were and the small town politics and connections. And it was social media, internet sleuths that found this case, that found that it was unresolved, that made sure that they demanded justice for the victim. And they got it. They got two of the perps convicted and sentenced. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about cleaning up these messes. People have been getting away with this type of ridiculous corruption for entirely too long. We cannot continue to allow it in this day and age where we've got the power of social media. So, the reproductive rights and exploitation, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, I try to stay away from politics, but here we go. Again, one of my commenters in my comment section said, "Oh, isn't this interesting? The Handmaid's Tale comes up in this case just like it came up in the Kylie Rodney case. What of that? What do you think of that?" And I said, "Excellent point. This person's freaking brilliant." We get so gaslit, we cannot keep up and go, "Oh, yeah, look at that. Isn't that weird?" Why on earth is The Handmaid's Tale a common theme with both of these bizarre, gaslighting, crazy cases where the police aren't doing their job? All they're doing is running for cover. And it's so obvious. It's so obvious. We can't see the forest through the trees. So, this is completely insane, you guys. Don't judge me. If you've seen the movie or read The Handmaid's Tale, you know that it's about basically reproductive rights. And the handmaids get exploited and assaulted and used for breeding. That's the whole theme behind that story. The handmaids are called breeders. It's a good band. Yeah, the Breeders. Check them out. Cannonball Saints. They're awesome. They're from Ohio. So yeah, I could go on and on about the Breeders, both with the Handmaid's Tale and with the musicians, but the handmaids are basically trafficked for their reproductive children, their babies. That's what they're used for. So what if these situations, like with Kylie Rodney, with these people in Idaho 4, what if they've been abducted and taken to the underground and they're being used as handmaids? Of course, that would not include Ethan. He would be a breeder of a different type. We know that. You don't have to, like, go, "Well, that can't be because look at Ethan. He's not a female." But, it seems absolutely nuts, and it is absolutely nuts. Whether it's going on or not, it's completely insane to even think of such a thing. But these things don't just exist in science fiction novels. That science fiction novel was written in the late 80s, I think. Late 80s, yeah. Because I read it. I read it when it first came out. Margaret Atwood was one of my favorite authors. I kind of stumbled upon her by accident. The Edible Woman was a book that I read looking for kind of a trashy romance novel for the summer, and it was anything but. That was how I discovered Margaret Atwood, and that's a really good book. So I read The Handmaid's Tale as soon as it came out. I've seen the movie. I've met the woman. She is astoundingly, strikingly humble. She's just a person with some ideas that puts them to paper and people like them. And she doesn't think she's all that in a bag of chips, even though she is. And I just want to say again that photograph that's circulating with her standing in the middle of the aisle and Koberger sitting in the front, one like front corner of the aisle. For all I know, it's a valid photograph and that happened and they were there in the same room together and he was a fan of hers or whatever, right? I don't know. I'm not any know-it-all, but it looks photoshopped. She looks photoshopped into the aisle. His head looks photoshopped onto the body. Absolutely. I will be the first to admit that in the photograph that's just him, that's from a different angle, it doesn't look so photoshopped. But I'm still going to stick to my opinion that his nose looks extremely fat, like Marcia from that Brady Bunch episode, where she gets hit in the nose with the football. That's what his nose looks like. And for all we know, it's him and he got hit in the face with a football or, kickboxing or whatever. It really doesn't matter whether these photos are real or not. What matters is that people allow the justice system to do its function of trying to convict whoever it is that victimized these four young adults and their families. That's what matters. What matters is that we protect our justice system. What matters is that we get truth and we get justice. And if there is some big coordinated effort to cover all this up, it's going to keep happening. It's not like it's going to stop tomorrow and they're going to go, oh, yeah, we were just kidding. Yeah, you caught us. No, that's not how those things work. I think that's all I have to say for today. I think I've said too much once again. Oh, my goodness. So, folks, I really hope that we can keep our focus on what's important. We can't convict people through social media. We can't convict people with our public scrutiny. We've got to keep an open mind and know that we could be wrong. Whichever side we're on, we could be wrong. Okay. Peace out. Have a really good weekend. Take good care of yourself. I hope you can get some good rest, good exercise, good nutrition, stay hydrated, have some fun, and just chillax. Be yourself because everybody else is already taken, right? So, again, sending you light, sending you love. I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.